Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Megan Gomez.
And this is Collateral Gaming. Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We are podcasting straight from Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it. Welcome to part 2 of our anniversary special. Since this is the 5-year anniversary, we're celebrating it with a 2-part episode. This time, harkening back to our pilot episode on Fable 3. So in part 1, we covered Fable 1. Now we're covering Fable 2. What is it, like 16 years later?
No. Yeah, it's a little bit of an older game, but that's okay. We still love her.
Oh, yeah. Like, this game is so nostalgic for me. So I mentioned before that I played the Fable franchise when I was younger, and it was one of the games that my siblings and I played together a lot. Fable 2 was the one that really, really caught on first. I mean, Fable 1 was the one that I played first over at my grandmother's, but Fable 2 was the first game of the franchise that I actually owned, and I played quite a ways into. And I never really got that far into Fable 1, but Fable 2... my siblings and I, we would play that and Fable 3 like over and over, just trying out every route, like, okay, we did the good route, now let's do the evil route. And like, these games were just amounted to hours of fun. So coming back to it was nostalgic and also kind of bittersweet for me.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, it's the first time playing it, so I'm getting it through a fresh set of eyes, which is kind of ironic because I feel like there's games that like we've had this season where I'm like, Ash, you should totally play this, and you've never played them, and like now coming to the anniversary special, it's like one of your favorites from your childhood that I've never played. So it's really cool to like have that kind of retrospective, little bit of parallelism there.
Definitely. And yeah, Fable 2 just has so many core memories for me. I mean, least of all of which is just being the very first M-rated game I ever played, or owned, I should say.
Rated M for mature.
Yeah. I could not have been 17 yet, so my mom must have gotten it for me and not realized. But I remember getting away with it and being like, yeah. I'm pretty sure I bought this alongside Skate 2. And by that time...
Oh my god, the skate games. Holy shit. Memory bank.
Oh, the skate games are honestly the best skateboarding games. And fuck Tony Hawk. Skate was way better.
Oh, I love Tony Hawk. Oh no.
I'm kidding. Tony Hawk was good. Just Skate was so much better that I kind of feel like Tony Hawk is just like... I don't know. It's just obsolete to me.
I don't know. I remember playing the skate game on the... Or not skate, the Tony Hawk game on the GameCube. The Tony Hawk 2, was it?
Is it like Pro Skater or... I had Tony Hawk's Underground on GameCube, and there was an Underground 2 also.
I know it was one where you could like grab onto the back of trucks. Yeah, and I remember doing that and like just going around this entire town. Yeah, it might have been Underground then. I'm trying to remember, but it's been eons.
It's been a while, yeah, for me too. But yeah, I bought Skate 2 and Fable 2 together, I'm pretty sure. And by the time I bought these games, Skate 3 and Fable 3 had already been out. But this was our first like non-Nintendo console we ever bought, was the Xbox 360. So, and it was quite late
It's
to
so
the party.
bizarre for me because I think of Nintendo and I think of you now.
Growing up, that's mostly what we played. You know, I started on the GameCube, and then we got the Wii, and I'm not even getting into the handhelds. You know, that's a whole other story. But then we got the 360 because we had, you know, peers. We had friends in middle school and high school that played games, and it quickly became obvious to me that gamers of my generation weren't taking Nintendo games seriously at that time, and that like serious gaming was like Xbox 360 and PS3. So we begged our mom for a Xbox 360. Pretty sure we got it for a holiday like Christmas or something one year, you know, years after it came out. And it was the first gaming console of that generation, so it was pretty old by that point, but we were ecstatic. And the 360, I think, was the best choice. That's why we picked it over the PS3 at that time, because it just had such a huge library of games.
Yeah, I feel like because you also had siblings, it was a little bit easier for you to have something that was like an Xbox because it was more like, I mean, at the time, you know, now it's kind of like debatable, obviously, because times have changed. But I feel like that was the most family friendly of the two. Whereas, like, I grew up on a PlayStation because it was like we like to watch the cinematics and like there wasn't as many people playing the console at the same time. So,
Yeah. And nowadays, I'm totally on the PlayStation fence. I mean, we jumped from 360 to PS4 actually because we were already catching on to, you know, kind of what was going with Sony and the differences between that and Microsoft. But I was glad that for that era, we had the 360, and that was our primary gaming console after that. And again,
and you still have it.
I still have the damn thing. It was the original 2005 model. And it, you know, and then the basic white and that damn thing.
I love the basic white.
I will say I don't think it performs very well because I was playing Fable 2 and I was playing Fable 3. I noticed this especially in Fable 3. I did go ahead and boot it up for old time's sake recently. And the game just did not seem to perform as well as I remember. Like the animations were like lagging behind the dialogue or vice versa. Something was off, and I was just like, no, this was much better in my childhood. This isn't just nostalgia lens. I think this thing just doesn't perform nearly as well. So my experience of these games may in fact be hindered by running on ancient hardware. That being said, I had a great time with Fable 2. If I had technical hiccups, I just excused it as being an old-ass game from 2008, right? And
I mean, yeah, it's almost 10 years old. It's fine. Or no, 20.
It's 16 years old now. And even whenever I played it for the first time, it wasn't particularly new at that point. It already had a sequel, and we already had games like Morrowind. I remember we ended up playing Skyrim not too long after this. So it's not like, there were no open world action RPGs at the time. But even so, I do find that the Fable franchise kind of, it was a pretty big deal for the time anyways, because we didn't see such a huge big boom in the action RPG genre. And even though Fable isn't open world, it's something I kind of consider proto, like the modern open world. Again, games like Morrowind
that's agreeable.
Morrowind and Oblivion, already existed. The Elder Scrolls games. And, Skyrim came not too long after this. So, again, open world was not something unheard of, but even so, like, to me as a kid, this was mind-blowing. This is the first game I played personally that allowed me to decide whether I wanted to be good or evil,
Yeah, no, I feel like the morality system and I of course encountered a lot of like games that I feel like a lot of people played in their childhood later in life. So for me, it all comes back to like the first game that kind of gave me a morality system kind of issue thing, which was Mass Effect. I remember vividly playing that when all the bones in my spine were bruised.
Mass
and
Effect.
that was like the first big morale.
Another game from that
was
era,
Yeah, right. And there was all of these games of like morality systems coming out at the time. They were like, all right, we're gonna make these kids question everything in their fucking heads right now. Are they a good or evil person? And this is gonna dictate their entire fucking life. Um, but now playing it as an adult, it's like, damn, do you want to be an asshole or just kind of an asshole?
Well, and like with Fable 2 is that yes, your actions have consequences, and those are going to affect both yourself and the world, but it was also just kind of taken a bit silly. Everything in the game is silly. You can murder
Yeah.
civilians and then just make one laugh enough to forget that they're scared of you, and then make them fall in love with you. And all you have to do is just expression after expression, and you can instantly
I was
turn
gonna
people.
say all you have to do is flex. Just
all-
continually flex and then fart after flexing 5 times, and you've got somebody's attention.
Exactly. And then once
Which I mean, like, same ho, but
once their heart meter is all the way up, you can go ahead and propose if they're sexually compatible. Mind you, like I said, we were in middle school, high school. So like this was mind blowing. The fact that you could like play a game and like it would tell you whether they were straight or gay or bisexual, and that would impact. And so like you could try to pull flirty expressions on somebody that's not sexually compatible, but they're just gonna have like a different kind of reaction to it.
yeah, they're gonna be like, oh.
But it's great because you all you have to do is just fill up that bar up a certain ways, and then you can just pop a ring, and as long as you own a home, you can get married. And I remember like as soon as we were able to jump into Bowerstone in the game, which is pretty early on after you get through the tutorial section, like
Right.
you can immediately go get married and do all of that. And like for us as kids, that was just mind blowing. And then you could go and take your spouse that you had just married to bed with you, and then the screen would black out and you'd hear them moan. And we just thought that was just incredible.
Oh man, nostalgia, childhood.
And there's even an achievement for like making like for having an orgy in the game, which is
Did
possible.
not know that.
Most of the citizens in Albion are apparently pretty conservative, and they don't like to have sex until they're married, and they're very adamant about that. You'll lose affection points with them if you try to take them to bed, if you use the "come to my place" expression on them when you're not married. But there are a select few, the more salacious members of society. So typically, the lower class members are who have descriptions like raunchy or flirty. Those are the ones that will actually have extramarital sex with you.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, but apparently most people in Albion have very traditional values. I always thought that was a bit odd. And then you can buy condoms in the game because, you have to prevent STDs. And STDs actually will detract from your attractiveness, as will getting really fat.
Did you know, actually, that drinking 5 beers is equally as evil as murder?
Right? Well, and at least though this game does have different scales, so there's good and evil, and there's purity and corruption. And apparently drinking beer is actually corrupt. In fact, eating meat is...
Which is so bizarre to me.
Yeah, but being like going vegan actually gives you purity points. Bo, if you're listening, I hate to admit it, but you were right.
Bo is vegan?
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, I have so many things to talk about with Bo now. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Because I'm gluten free and I can't have gluten. Newsflash, guys. I guess I forgot to announce that. But yeah, I have Meg has Hashimoto's. Yay, and she can't have gluten anymore. I miss fucking bread.
Well, you have to, and even in Fable, you have to watch your diet. Like you have to, like, for me, I'm like a purist. So this run, I decided to go for pure evil. I've already done a pure good playthrough. In fact, I've done it within the last few years, actually. A few years ago, before we started the podcast, I did pick up Fable 2 and complete it. So that's the last time that I had played this game. But this time I decided to do a pure evil. So my character was evil but pure. Because evil and corrupt like looks really ugly. Corruption actually like makes your character uglier, and I wanted my character to be a hot bitch, so I made her she was a female pure evil hero. And I made her hot as fuck. I picked the items that increased attractiveness the most. I toyed around with the weight. Like, weight actually makes you less attractive to NPCs, but like you can have augments and clothing and other things that can make up for that. And I actually found that putting on a few pounds made her look a little bit more attractive in game. That being said, don't max out the physique or the accuracy, because you'll turn like, for the male heroes, it's fine. You can give them the Giga Chad physique, like we mentioned in the last part. But from the female characters, it looks rather odd.
Oh yeah, you'd probably look like what's her name? The one that Killer Sally.
I mean, I love tall, dumb, big titty mommies as much as the next guy, but there's a point where it's just like you're dwarfing the citizens of Albion, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. And then also they just make like the physical, like whenever you upgrade your strength stat, or specifically the physique stat up enough, your character just gets very beefy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just looked better on the male model than the female model. So I didn't max out all of my stats on this playthrough, but I did max out all of the magic stats, because fuck yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you? You're a mage type.
Right. And the magic in this game, I love it. The combat in general actually is an improvement over Fable 2. They simplified the control scheme. You've just got X for the swords, Y for your ranged weapons, B for magic. And there's just a flow to combat. You can just effortlessly switch between those three in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I guess I only did like through the tutorial, so I didn't do too terribly much, because I was like, man, we got to play this and get it done, son. But yeah, I know. I feel like it wasn't an incredibly hard combat system. I feel like it was relatively simple to switch through things, like switching through things on any basic weapon wheel, or switching through from your magic to your bow and arrow on Skyrim, for example, since that's around the time this was released, in roughly 3 years. But I know that a lot happened in 3 years. Don't at me.
I feel that it's a lot more seamless and effortless than in Skyrim, because of the way that the combat system is triggered. Like, the first Fable game was a little bit awkward. You had to equip your melee weapon, and then you had to equip your bow, and then you could start fighting with it. In this game, it's all just on the face buttons. The shooting controls, like the shooting and aiming controls, might get a little bit awkward, but it really wasn't a big deal. And I just love how fast you can move between them just at the hit of a button. They really improved on the combat in this one. I mean, a lot of people might feel that they sort of dumbed it down, but I, for one, welcomed the more simplified control scheme, and I felt that it made you feel like more of a badass. There aren't nearly as many magic spells in this game, but the ones that are here are pretty cool, and I loved experimenting with all of them. In particular, I'm a huge fan of the time control spell. So in Fable 1, the equivalents of that were slow time and assassin rush. In Fable 2, they're one spell, but every spell has two variants, has a targeted mode and a surrounding mode. And so like, even the kind of the way that you use magic was sort of streamlined. You always had two types of spells with every spell, just each with varying levels of effects and doing different levels of damage. But I loved, like, as you upgrade your magic, you can pull off some really cool combinations. So like, you can like, you can segment it to where you have like, you'll like, one of my like flows now in combat is that I'll cast a level 1 time control, and then I'll start charging up, and then I'll cast a level 2 summon, which will summon a bunch of, or raise dead, I think is what it's called, and you'll summon a bunch of creatures, and if you've killed a few enemies, it's even more useful. And those will act as a distraction, so my enemies are distracted while I'm casting a powerful spell. And I've already slowed time, so I have more time now. So then, I start charging it up more, and I'll have like a physical damage spell set as my level 3. And if enemies are immediately around me and about to get me, I'll go ahead and cast that. But if not, I'll still keep charging up, and then I'll go to my level 4 time control. Slow down time to where it's super, super slow and nobody can touch me. I'll zip around using the time control targeted ability to put myself in a position where nobody's going to attack me, and then I'll start charging up my level 5 damage spell and just clear the entire crowd in one fell swoop.
That is the most solid strategy I've heard in a long time. I applaud you. That's dope. You put a lot of thought into this.
I did, really, and that was what was a lot of fun about it, was just developing strategies, throughout the game. And then you can even, I would even start to add in the melee and the ranged into the mix, And so, like, what I'll do is I'll slow down time, zip behind an enemy, slash him in the back, maybe use a flourish so I can knock him on the ground before I charge a more powerful spell, or slow down time, zip over somewhere else and then aim my gun at them and shoot their head off.
Beautiful tactic, sir. Beautiful.
Combat is just so fun, and you can just encounter that throughout the overworld. Not only that, but side questing. I think that Fable is actually a model for how modern games, especially action RPGs, should do side quests. This is another game that, like The Witcher 3, does a really good job of making side quests that are nearly as entertaining, or maybe even more so, than the main quest.
Oh, like the jilted lover?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That one I heard about. I didn't play through that one, but I was watching some Fable content to like kind of get in the spirit for Fable, and I saw the jilted lover one, and I was like, of fucking course. And then she kills herself. Of fucking course.
If you break her heart, but you can also marry her, and she's technically like a unique NPC, so she's actually a good choice for somebody to marry in the game. That's what was cool, is that you kind of almost form like an attachment. Like, you'll make your own family. One thing that Fable 1 was missing was the ability to have children. Now you can have children in Fable 2. But if your spouse divorces you, CPS takes your children and they just are removed from the game world.
Well, that's scary.
Yeah, Fable 3
can't even have like separated parents type shit. They're just gone.
They're just gone. And your wife disappears from the game world as well. Never to be seen again.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's totally fine.
It was kind of traumatizing because, like, when I was a kid and I was on my very first playthrough of this game, like, I had a wife and a kid, and I spent tons of time with them, because I had put off doing the main quest and was just focusing on doing all of that and just having a family and spending all my time with them and whatever. And then my wife got this weird glitch where, for no reason, she just decided to divorce me. And, like, it's like I would just go travel somewhere. I would go fast travel somewhere, and she was already unhappy. Of course, back then, I wasn't aware that the carriage fast travel actually reduces a lot more in-game time than the regular fast travel option. So it's possible I was just spending too much, but it just felt weird to me as a kid. Like, I have distinct memory of this as just being like, every time I went to go do something, like I was trying to complete the main quest and she would get unhappy. So eventually I bit the bullet and I kept trudging on without traveling back to her. And when I finally got back to her, she just divorced me on the spot. I didn't have a chance to go back. And then I looked it up and I found out that there was actually a known glitch. And I felt so sad. And what was weird is that the game actually treated it as if she had died. That was the telltale sign of the glitch, because she threatened to divorce me, but then I got an in-game message that she had died. And I thought that was really strange. And so I ended up having to get a whole other family. Oh, and then the Jilted Lover side quest, by the way, I didn't mean to reject her. Like, I actually decided to marry her, despite the fact that I had a spouse already at the time, and my other wife was less than pleased about that. But I managed to get good favor with her again. I decided to take Alex out with me somewhere, and she got killed by bandits, and so the quest treated it like I had rejected her.
No.
Yep. So yeah, that happened, and that wife was the one that would later divorce me. So maybe she did have grounds for the divorce after all. I mean, she did see me propose to Alex in the pub. I remember her NPC going, "But I'm already your wife," and I was like, "Oh shit! You just watched me do that? Listen, okay, this is just for the story. I'm just doing this for the main quest. You're still my main girl. This is literally just for the story. Like, you just didn't need to watch this happen."
I'm the main character and you're part of my plot. Calmate.
But yeah, and at the time I didn't know also that having multiple spouses gives you corruption points. So,
Well, that's fun.
but
Makes sense.
I mean, at the end of my Fable 3 playthrough, I remember having multiple wives, and I had one in like each town. And to keep things fair, I had one husband too in one town.
Dang, Ash, you were a little hoe.
Yeah. And in Fable 2, by the way, there is a side quest that triggers. If you have more than one spouse, somebody will find out about it and try to blackmail you. And you have to pay them money or they'll tell your spouses.
Oh, it's fine. That's fine. Everything's fine. Casual.
So the game interacts with you. It gives you like little quests to do. And there are even quests that will significantly affect the world at points. You know, like in the beginning, when the decisions that you make as a child will actually affect Bowerstone Old Town. If you gave the guard the warrants, then Bowerstone Old Town will be a nice place with a booming economy. But if you did not give him the warrants and you gave it to the Nonce instead, and why would you do that unless you're specifically going for evil? Then Bowerstone Old Town is run down, and there's prostitutes everywhere, and the buildings aren't valued as highly, and yeah.
Also, can we talk about the MVP of this fucking game? The dog.
The dog! The best addition. The dog. Oh, the dog.
You want to know what, though? I was cackling like a fucking hyena because you go up to the gate to get your powers activated for the first time, right? And the dog just lays down. I was like, bro, that's Lola. That is Lola to a fucking T. She would straight up be like, oh, that sounds like it hurts. Anyways, I'm going to go lay over here.
Your constant companion. And you'll be happy to know in Fable 3 there's a dog as well. It became a staple after that. And
good. It's like Fallout. I love that.
Exactly. And yeah, the dog was cool because it would lead you to treasure, so you could find treasure chests that you might miss or dig spots. Fable 1, there was no indication of where you could dig somewhere. You either had to get a note that told you, or you had to just kind of decide to dig somewhere. But Fable 2, your dog leads you to dig spots and also to treasure. And also you can teach your dog tricks that they'll do while you're performing expressions.
Yes, the dog is so fucking cute. That's just my favorite thing ever about this game. Like, I started playing and then I was like, what is this? Is this dog just following around? And then like you go through the sequence of, like, oh, he grows up and, oh, your companion that has never left your side. And I'm like, I love the dog. Oh. Alan's like, are you good? I'm like, they still have the dog.
The dog that follows you through at least 20 years. Like, how old is that fucking dog?
The dog does not age. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Because it's 10 years from childhood to the main quest. And then it's 10 years in the Spire. Because like the first game, I mean, it actually follows the structure quite a bit here. You've got the little childhood section where you got to collect 5 gold pieces. Yeah. Decisions that you make will affect the world later on. And then later on, there's a prison sequence. But this time you spend 10 years in the Spire. And you have the decision to obey your orders and be like humiliated and shit. And they take everything from you. Your character, regardless of gender, gets shaved and gets put in like these prison guard clothes. And you can't use your weapons or any magic. And you can either choose to obey or you can choose to defy them. And they'll literally zap experience points from you for disobeying.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. But you can decide.
It's fine. Everything is fine.
Am I going to play this the cool route and take all the abuse and willingly allow prisoners to starve, as I'm being forced to do, in order to and kill my one friend in this place, in order to keep the plan alive and infiltrate this place and get what I need? Or am I just going to defy against all odds, even at a cost, in game to me?
The morality in the fucking game, bro.
It is, yeah. There's several points, and what's cool is that if you have a family already before you go to the Spire, you can you'll get it in game. Characters will ask you if you want to visit your family one more time before you leave, and they'll reference the fact. and whenever you come back, they'll reference the fact that your family's still there waiting for you. And what's cool is that if you have a child, they'll remain as an infant or as a small child. I think they'll remain as an infant until you leave for the Spire. I didn't have any children in this particular playthrough because I was mostly a lesbian.
I love that for you.
Yeah, I fucked other dudes at Gabe, but I mostly only married women, and then I would sacrifice them, except for Lady Grey, because you can resurrect Lady Grey, and you can marry her again.
It's very ash-coded of you.
Exactly. Hell yeah.
Also, can I just mention the fact that I love, like, all of the guys in the podcast? Like, I'm shouting out Dan really quick because I saw earlier this week that he was, like, obsessed because he went to go see Sabrina Carpenter, I think, or it was Olivia Rodrigo, and he was obsessed. He was like, this woman is a queen. And then we jump onto this podcast, and you're like, yeah, no, I was a lesbian. It's fine. Like, I just love this energy. I just needed this energy in my life. I'm just here for this.
Hell yeah. I forgot where I was even going with that, but yeah, okay, so you leave for the Spire, your family's there waiting for you, and then when you come back, your child you'll have a small child who will run up to you and be like, "Daddy," or "Mommy," and this game really pulls at your heartstrings too, because if you choose to have a family, there's another event that will trigger on your family that waited for you for 10 years, and already went through hardship. At the very end of the game, Lucian will kill them if you happen to have a family at that point. And he'll reveal it to you right before he kills you, and then you go through like a memory sequence with Rose again, and then you pull out a music box and you kill Lucian, or Reaver does it for you. And and then you actually have a choice at the end of the game to either get a bunch of good and pure points by resurrecting everybody that died in the completion of the Spire. So, like these hundreds or thousands of families that were torn apart by this event, you can do the good thing and you can give them back all your lives. You can make the choice to resurrect your dog, which sacrifices its life for you at the end. Yes, your dog does die, but you have the choice to resurrect it and your family at the end as your choice for completing the game. That will give you just purity points, but no good points. Or you can decide to get a bunch of money for a bunch of evil and corruption points.
Solid.
So I'm going to tell you, I wanted to play like a pure good character, and that's what I tried to do. But when I got to that end sequence, I had to choose the option to resurrect my dog and my family.
Yeah.
Like there was just it was too much for me. And I remember Hammer in game has a comment about it. She's like, that's not the choice I would have thought you would have made. And Teresa's like, well, that's the choice he made, so he'll have to live with it. And like, but I had to, that was the decision. And in this playthrough, I made the same one because I wanted my character to be evil and pure and not evil and corrupt. So getting a bunch of money all at once was not her MO. And also, the dog is very useful. If you don't resurrect the dog at the end and you don't have the DLC, you're stuck without being able to get dig spots the rest of the game.
Well, yeah, that's frustrating then. I would choose I would choose the dog anyways because that's who I am as a person. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah, so it seems like the choice that most people I feel want to make is the middle option. Because I love how this game just fucks with you with that. I mentioned a few characters already, but Fable 2's characters honestly are just so endearing. You have Hammer, who's the hero of strength. She's just this woman raised by pacifist monks whose father, the abbot, gets murdered in front of her, and so she decides that she's going to be a warrior monk. And her name is Hannah, but after that she goes by Hammer. And she's cool as fuck, just this big, bulky woman. You've got Garth, the hero of Will. That man is fucking badass. He's quiet. He doesn't say a lot. You see him very briefly in the intro sequence as you and your sister are exploring Fairfax Castle. You break into the Spire to break him out. And he's just this cool black dude that's like a really powerful magic user. And he's just all nonchalant. And then there's Reaver. Fucking Reaver. And this Reaver is a character in Fable 3, which takes place 50 years later as well. He's the hero of skill. And he's the hero that is a little bit he's morally corrupt, very much so. He's made some very questionable decisions, but he's also bisexual, and he's very much fabulous. He's just like an endearing, like you hate him because he's such a son of a bitch, but like at the same time, like he's the guy that will like lock you in a room to leave you to your death, but then, you know, if you happen to get out, offer to have an orgy with you.
I feel like that is this is a bold statement. This is very bold, but Reaver is the Loki of the Fable universe.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, as long as you agree with that.
Although he is a bastard and a half. He actually sacrifices the entire town of Oakvale, the town from the first game. Like 500 years ago, he sacrificed the entire town of Oakvale in order to remain forever young.
Damn.
And he double crosses you
multiple
times throughout the story. So, but you need him in order to defeat Lucian. Lucian, who is admittedly not as good of a villain as Jack of Blades from Fable 1, but still, all the same, I mean, he shoots your sister at the beginning of the game. That's enough, right? And then shoots you out a window.
That shocked the shit out of me. I was like, we're gonna go to this dude's castle, and he's like, yes. And all of a sudden he's like, you gotta die. I'm like, what the fuck? What is this fucking game? What?
I gotta tell you though, he's gotta be either like the worst shot or the unluckiest son of a bitch, because twice in the events of the story he shoots the protagonist at point blank and the protagonist manages to survive.
He's a stormtrooper in a past life.
I mean, as a fucking 10-year-old, you know, or whatever, you get shot out the fucking window and land down several stories down, and somehow you end up okay. And then later on, he makes it a point to state that he's going to make sure that you're dead this time as he points the pistol at you. And, you know,
it must be a fucking blunderbuss or something. It's got to be some fucking horrible fucking can't shoot the broadside of a barn kind of Glock or some shit. I don't fucking know. Which that is not me talking shit on Glock. That is me talking shit on the 43X, because that thing is, we are not friends. We are not friends.
I won't let you slander the blunderbuss, okay? The blunderbuss is the shotgun of this game, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, in real life history, they were fucking ass.
I know, but like, you can wield a blunderbuss. You start out with a crossbow, but as soon as you get to Bowerstone, you can start working at the blacksmith and make up enough money to upgrade your equipment. And very quickly, we realized as kids that the crossbows were shit, and you're just gonna go to the guns. Because why the fuck would you have a crossbow when there are guns in the universe now?
Fair.
So 500 years after Fable
Valid.
1, you know, we're starting to see it, you know, the Industrial Revolution. Fable 3 takes place 50 years after this, and you actually play the protagonist of this game's child. And that's where the Industrial Revolution actually really hits. But here we've already got guns and whatnot. And so we're actually living in an Albion now that has mostly forgotten heroes. The Heroes Guild from the first game is in ruins. You know, it's just like this little island in the middle of Bower Lake, and there hasn't been a hero in 500 years, but your character is a descendant of the hero of Oakvale from the first game, and the first hero in, you know, centuries to exist, and you've been awakened because of this traumatic experience that happened as a child, and your decisions are going to impact the world.
Fine, everything is fine. Everything is reliant on this one small child until he becomes un man.
Every story starts innocently enough. Yours is no different. Until the day the story changes, and the little that you have is taken forever. This is where the story really begins. At the path to vengeance. For every battle, a weapon. For every cause, a champion. For every soul, a price. For every choice, a different destiny. Who will you become?
I mean, and you know, that even goes down to, you know, the mid game. During the 10 years you spend in the Spire, you have an opportunity to pay Barnum, one of the best side characters in this game that keeps popping up. And god damn it, there will be justice for Barnum.
Yes.
He gives you a proposition, and it sounds really shaky knowing this guy who's not a very good businessman, but if you give him, I think, like 5,000 gold or something, he says he'll give it back to you. You can only do this right before you go to the Spire, and as soon as you get out of the Spire, he comes back, and he returns your investment like several times fold, and turns Westcliff, which was at that time just kind of like almost like a bandit settlement, into an actual village in game with a pretty highly ranked economy. So you can make decisions in this game that affect the game, and you can really again affect the in-world economy. Of course, you, like in the last game, you could also just completely ruin the economy, but
I mean, it's Fable. Why would you not ruin the economy?
You can break it. I mean, that rule very much applies. Although this game a little bit less so than in Fable 1, but it's still very much possible. And this time you can actually easily own every single house and shop in the game. You don't have to kill anybody or evict, to do it. So it is one of the big parts of this game is becoming a real estate magnet. You do jobs to earn money at first. But once you have enough money to buy your first property, from then on, you've got passive income. And in Fable 2, you get income every 5 minutes, in-game and out. So whether you have the game paused or off, you are still generating income. I assume there's a cap. I assume that if I loaded up my, 10-plus-year-old Fable game, it probably wouldn't still be generating income, but...
Yeah, there's got to be a time limit for that shit, because holy mother, there are a lot of trillionaires on this planet, if so.
Yeah, and by amassing enough real estate, you have access to the king or queen title of Albion. It doesn't come with any real powers, but just for simply amassing 2.5 million in real estate, you can earn that title, and people will call you king or queen, which if you bought Fairfax Castle, which becomes Bowerstone Castle, you're actually literally setting up Fable 3. I think canonically, Fable 3 is pure good, and you made the decision at the end to not resurrect your family, but resurrect everybody else. And you did buy Fairfax Castle, and you did get the title of king or queen. That's the only way that Fable 3 makes sense.
I mean, I guess so, yeah. That would make sense. But then how would you... I mean, you guess you wouldn't have an heir?
You do, because in Fable 3, you have 2 children. Regardless of whatever children your character may have had in Fable 2, in Fable 3, the king or queen of Albion, and depending on whether you played as a male or female, they'll refer to them as such. Like, the game will read your save file. I think that's the only difference, though. They won't remark on anything else, just the gender of the character. And so in a lot of ways, it makes little sense. I remember when I first played Fable 3, the last time I'd loaded up Fable 2, I was on an evil playthrough. And so they started referencing the queen, and that's when I knew they were referencing my evil female character. And I was like, oh shit, this doesn't make sense continuity-wise. So I devoted the rest of that playthrough into turning everything around and becoming a good person so that it would canonically fit with Fable 3.
Okay. All right.
It was that important to me at the time. And it's why when I recently booted up Fable 3, I went ahead and I started a good playthrough on Fable 2 just the other day so that, canonically it would work out. I'm weird like that.
I have like fucking PTSD from Mass Effect, so I feel like I always end up choosing a good playthrough even if I want to or not, just because of the first fucking Mass Effect game and having to choose to kill Rex or not if you have enough fucking Paragon. Horse shit, bro. Horse shit.
Oh, no. Fable was the original game that actually gave me like honestly made me really feel bad for being evil. Like I remember having the decision to be evil, and so like we do our good playthroughs, but then we start playing evil and we'd massacre everybody in the town, and then you'd hear like the children crying because you can't kill the children, obviously, and screaming for their crying about their mom and their dad, and I was like, oh yeah, I just massacred their mom and dad.
I just killed your parents. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's okay because I think I'd noticed like if you wipe out an entire village, eventually, when you return to the region, people will come back and they'll all will be blissfully unaware of what you did because they're whole new people, so they'll love you.
Huh.
But
Not that I would ever make that decision. It's like loading a save file to kill everybody in like Whiterun or something. But okay.
yeah, and I've learned also that killing people is just not worth it. Much like in Skyrim, right? Because, like, first of all, like, you'll have the bells after you, and, like, the guards will not stop. Eventually, like, they'll keep responding. So eventually you have to decide to do community service, which is, makes an additional quest on your map where you have to go to this place and kill a few things and come back, or pay money. So not only that, but killing enough people will actually, like, degrade the economy in-game, and honestly, that's not a good thing because then you can't buy good items from vendors because they can only sell like 1 or 2 star items because you killed everybody.
That's valid. That's a very valid point.
The temples of Avo and Scorm come back in this game, and they're now the temples of light and shadow, and they run basically the same. You can get a bunch of good points by donating a bunch of gold, or you can get a bunch of evil points by sacrificing a bunch of people, and you'll get some legendary weapon that you can't get otherwise by donating enough money or sacrificing enough people. But the Temple of Shadows, actually, they made a lot more fun. So instead of just like everybody dying, there's like a wheel of shadows that runs around, and so they'll have various effects from like decapitation to impaling to turning them into the opposite gender or into chickens or something. So
Transmutation, fucking who?
yeah, it's pretty goofy. And then, of course, to get the ultimate weapon, you actually, this time, you don't just have to amass enough evil points. You actually have to sacrifice your spouse in order to get the weapon.
Damn.
So you can make some truly heinous decisions in this game. And honestly, like, there's almost no consequences for it. I mean, yeah, everybody will run away from you after that point, and so it's hard to actually talk to people because they just keep wanting to run away from you. But if you're fast enough, you can pull off a sock puppet expression and get them to start laughing, and then they'll decide that you're okay enough to at least not run from the side of. So,
Okay.
the citizens of Albion are easily swayed.
Easily amused. Yeah.
Yeah, like they'll all just start crowding around you, like if you just start dancing in the middle of town.
Like, what's up with this dude breakdancing in the town square? Let's go look. Everybody, look at this fucking guy.
And my favorite part is you could start hitting on somebody, and somebody else who's like sexually compatible with you will still love it and fall in love with you. And so like I'll go to every town and there's like 5 villagers following me around being like, it would be great if you got me a ring. A ring would look quite nice on my finger. And I'm like, dude, I've never even talked to you. What the fuck?
Ash was a player, y'all. He just didn't want to tell you.
It's not my fault they all crowd around me and gain love points because I started pulling out a loot, okay?
It's not my fault they all love me.
But yeah, Fable 2 was just so much fun just because of the variety of things you can do. I found myself once again losing hours of my life, not even progressing the big story, just amassing money, becoming a real estate magnate, and breaking hearts and making people fall in love with me and sacrificing them, and it was just a great experience.
Yeah, I feel like it was a good amount of nostalgia, like for somebody that has played. For me personally, it was a new experience, and I definitely am going to continue to play after the podcast, but wanted to make sure I got something in. So, I only got through the tutorial sequence, but I feel like it was like a really good, like, kind of basic, like, palate cleanser type of game that was, like, fun to play and still, like, a good enough game to, like, want to return back to, and something that I'll continue to look forward to playing.
Yeah, and like I feel like it does a good job of padding itself out. Like I mentioned, the way that it does side quests is a model that I think modern games even should use. And if the new Fable reboot manages to pull it off, and I hope that what they do is they literally just take this and turn it into like true open world, because even the structure of this game works phenomenally well. You can't just rush through the story. I mean, if you go as fast as you possibly can, I think you can complete this in under 10 hours. But throughout the story, you'll hit snag points where before you can move on, you have to gain enough renown by completing quests. And so the game will actually come to a still and force you to take on side quests before you can progress through the story. And every time you gain a quest, you gain a little bit more renown. And so it's a good way of actually, kind of forcing the player to check this out, because like I mentioned, some of the side quests are enormously entertaining. And it's cool that you even get different side quests based on different decisions you make. Again, if you decide to become a bigamist, somebody will try to blackmail you. If you have a kid and they manage to survive the end of the game, i.e. you chose to resurrect them, you'll meet your kid as an adult after the main quest is done, and you'll have to go fight monsters alongside them at the end, which is kind of cool.
A very Witcher of them.
Yeah. And supposedly the events of the game take place over some, number of years. I mean, I the way I kind of see it is the points at which the game asks you to gain enough renown to progress are points where like a number of years can pass by. Those are the natural points in the game where you might choose to start a family or whatnot. But because I remember, like, it's not like Fable 1 where, like, every time you upgraded ability, you age a year, which was dumb. But I know that there is some in-game counter. I know that it doesn't develop time as quickly, like, until you get to the Spire, and then 10 years later will pass, and then it starts adding years on. But I know, like, my spouse will occasionally, like, comment to me, like, we've been married for so many years. And I'm like, wait, really? Because as far as I'm concerned, we've been married for a few hours.
Right. You mean 3 hours, ma'am?
I don't know how time works in this game, but it does progress in a way that doesn't even match like the in-game day-night cycle, but whatever.
There's some things about Fable that are broken, and that's totally okay.
That's the thing, is it doesn't take itself seriously. I mean, you could eat fucking crunchy chicks in order to gain evil points. To gain access to the Temple of Shadows, you have to eat like 5 or 10 crunchy chicks in front of them. Live baby chickens.
I don't like that.
The game just reacts to it. It's just like a humorous moment. That's what I love about it. I mentioned this in the last one, but Fable has kind of like this boyish charm, or very much British humor. I think is a big part of it. And growing up playing these games was just, it kind of almost influenced me in some ways.
That's fair. I feel like it was definitely a big moment in your childhood for sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the co-op. Like I mentioned, so many memories of playing this game with my brother and my sister. Which to me now is kind of bittersweet, but we would jump in and like in Fable 2 the co-op isn't as good as in Fable 3, so like somebody can jump in and fight alongside you, but like people don't really react to them in game and they can't buy anything or really do much. Fable 3 expanded on it a lot. You can actually like marry other players and form business partnerships with them and things like that. But even so, it was really cool that they managed to take a single player story driven game and just add co-op to it. And so somebody could join alongside you, and they wouldn't get to carry over the stats from their character or anything, but they could choose from one of a few preset options, and I think like their abilities transferred over or something, and fight alongside you. Did you get to try out the co-op?
No, we didn't actually. I was talking to Alan about that the other day, though, and I was like, we should totally do that. He was like, I guess. Okay.
You should try it. It's fun. Like, it really is. And, like, you actually get the achievements just for being with somebody whenever they do something, too, so.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do that then.
But it's not like anybody, like, in-game actually, like, acknowledges the existence of the other character. It's kind of weird.
Oh, it's just like Beyond Two Souls. Then it's just your ghost.
Yeah. So it's like, I think like in game, like the way they explain it is it's a character from another world who's just visiting. But like I'm telling you, like the NPCs like don't really like respond to them. Like I think you can, well, like I guess like in the story they don't respond to them. It's been a while since I played, but I think like in game, like you can pull off expressions in front of the masses and they'll react to you. And I distinctly remember in either Fable 2 or 3, like we were fucking up with each other's worlds and like killing villagers left and right when like the other one was trying to do a good playthrough.
Oh my god.
Yep, fun times. Fucking up the in-world economy for each other.
I'm just gonna come out and say it. That sounds like something Dakota would do. Anyways, moving on.
Well fucking said. But I guess we'll go ahead and get into our final thoughts here, starting with you, Megan.
Yeah, final thoughts is so like I said earlier, I only played through the tutorial sequence, so I didn't play too terribly much of the game. But from what I did play, I did enjoy it. I love the fact that you had a dog companion. That was very, very fun for me. I'm a big, as y'all know, dog person. My dog has her own freaking Instagram because I'm one of those fucking zillennials. It's fine, it's casual. And I just thought it was a good way to dive into nostalgia in a new way because I feel like for me, nostalgia hits a little bit different than other people. Especially like I know we kind of talked about childhoods a little bit, and this kind of ties into my final thought here. I feel like I had like different different settings and backgrounds like than like you and your siblings, for example. And I feel like it was a way to like see into a childhood that I didn't quite have and see how it could have like affected people and how people talk about it. Because like shout out Sky, she's probably gonna listen to this. She's a friend of mine out here. She was like, hey, what are you doing for the podcast? I was like, oh, I'm gonna play Fable 2, and she was like, oh my god, I fucking love Fable. Holy shit. Oh my god. And she was like freaking the fuck out. She's like, that's my fucking shit. And I was like, oh, bro, I never played it. And she lost her mind. Yeah, I think it's a cool way to dive into nostalgia if you haven't done so, especially somebody, like me who hasn't really played a lot of different franchises, just the ones that they've been exposed to, and is kind of blind to a lot of things that I feel like a lot of other people were exposed to. I feel like the gameplay was really good. I liked all of the lore. I liked the system. I like the combat. I like the general like story and dialogue and kind of like the sense of like the game actually pulling you in instead of just being like, oh, I gotta go do fucking 30 side quests. Like it's like, oh no, I have to do the side quest or like this person's gonna be really sad and kill themselves. It's fine, it's casual.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, for me, like again, Fable 2 is one of those games that was just like fundamental to my experience as a gamer growing up, and it was really awesome to be able to go back and play it again. And honestly, I kind of expected that it wasn't gonna age as well as I remembered it, but I had a fun time nonetheless. And just remembering like how much of the game came back to me was cool. The game is buggy as hell. I will say that there are several glitches that can just end up making quests like unplayable. And like the golden trail that they added is really nice when it actually works. And it's just sort of goofy. The mechanics don't really hold up to logic at all. Although I think that's kind of the point. And again, you just don't have to take it too much seriously. I will say that Fable 2, in terms of gameplay, is an improvement in a number of ways on Fable 1. I know in some ways I think people felt that the choices that you made, like the morality choices, had more of an effect on the actual plot than in Fable 2, and I might agree with that. I think like the general story beats of Fable 2 are going to be exactly the same no matter what you do. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like you still are able to affect the world, and characters will react to you, and your own appearance. Again, your appearance will change in game, just like in Fable 1, and you could look really demonic looking if you get a full maxed out evil character. And even where you pour your points into as far as the skill trees go. This franchise is really near and dear to my heart, and it was actually really, really nice to be able to jump back in. So I'm actually really excited for the 10-year anniversary. We're going to jump back into Fable 3, so that's probably the next time I'll actually play that game. It'll be really interesting to kind of compare it then. But God,
5 years from now. That's crazy.
5 years from now. Yep.
Good
But,
lord.
yeah, I gotta say, I think I enjoy Fable 2 more than Fable 1. I think I enjoyed the story more too. And I know that the Fable 1 story does get really good the deeper in you go. I think last time I might have said something to the effect of that it was sort of basic. And in some ways, yeah, but some of the beats were pretty interesting. But to me, Fable 2's story always gripped me a little bit more. It does the same thing, childhood tragedy, but for some reason, Fable 2 always felt a little bit more personal. And then again, at the end of the game, it really fucks with you. If you decided to have a family and managed to keep them happy till the end of the game, and, the same family that waited for you for 10 years at the Spire, Lucian just fucking kills them. It doesn't matter if you get the special house that's safe from everybody else by proposing to your wife in front of the demon door, or whether you have her in fucking Fairfax well, you can't get Fairfax Castle at that point, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Or if you have Lady Grey, even, who supposedly in game is undead, Lucian will kill your family, and he even mentions like the spatters of blood on your house walls, and like you're like, oh no, this guy is a bastard, and then he kills your dog right in front of you.
Motherfucker! Oh no. Yeah, no, that guy's gotta die. I gotta play through it just to fucking kill him.
He kills your family. He tells you he's killed your family already. They're already dead, and then he kills your dog right in front of you. Your dog, who, no matter what you do to them during the game, whether you praise or abuse them, and if you abuse them, you're a evil, awful person. I don't care if you massacred anybody in the game. I don't care if you sacrificed your spouse at the Temple of Shadows. You do not abuse your dog in game, even though it gives you the option to do that.
No. Absolutely not.
You're going
Never.
on a hit list for that.
Right.
But
FBI, open up.
If you put a collar on your dog and to change his name, you could actually see briefly his stats for you, and your dog always has 100% love for you, no matter what you do for him.
Oh,
and he will always sacrifice himself for you when Lucian tries to shoot you.
Stop.
The dog that waited.
That makes me want to go hug my dog and her little Frito feet.
And he waited 10 years for you while you were at the Spire. He's a good boy.
100 out of 10 good boy.
He is. And by the way, if you don't resurrect your dog at the end, there is still hope. If you get the DLC, there's like a potion or something that'll resurrect your dog. So,
Thank God.
But even so, like, I think when most people played the base game, that we all chose pretty much, like, even if the family wasn't that big of a deal for you and you didn't actually like form an attachment to your in-game family like I did, and you just kind of treated it like it was silly, like I did in this more recent playthrough, the dog. I mean, you can't not form an attachment to the dog.
1,000,000%. Who wouldn't form an attachment to a dog companion? I say as my husband is playing Fallout 4 and I see dog meat just fucking running around like a crackhead. It's fine.
Hell yeah. God, I want to watch the Fallout series actually. It sounds really good, and I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It's so good.
I'll have to check it out.
It's a need. It's not a must. It's not a hey you should. It's that you fucking need to watch it as a gamer. It's like on the level of Last of Us for me.
Yeah, I still need to finish
The Last of Us.
Which is
a bold fucking statement. You haven't finished The Last of Us?
Nope, I haven't finished the series. I mean, I played both of the games, obviously, but I just got distracted and I never got back onto it, and I really have been meaning to.
You need to, and you need to watch Fallout.
But anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or feedback on your platform of choice. Go vote for us on Good Pods and help us climb up the ranks there. You can also check out our Patreon, where we have full-length video game Let's Play commentaries. Bo has also been releasing Let's Plays on YouTube. So for now, those are on the Collateral Cinema YouTube channel, but we'll have them on the Collateral Gaming channel as well. Coming up next on Collateral Gaming, it is April. So for 420, we will be doing Naruto X Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections, sort of doing a crossover event with Collateral Cinema. where we just did an episode on the last Naruto the movie with Matt St. Jack from Anime Talk. So that episode should be out very soon, if not already. And then the month of April is going to be our bad game month. So we will be talking about Plumbers Don't Wear Ties and E.T., the Atari game.
You mean the game that is not supposed to exist, or what am I thinking of? Is that it?
Yeah, so apparently there were like masses of copies of the E.T. game that were dumped in landfills or something, but the game is playable today, so.
Interesting.
So, yeah, stick around for that and more this season as we are sort of winding down to our conclusion. On Collateral Cinema, like I mentioned, we'll have out our episode on the last Naruto the movie, and then our 420 special, which we just recorded yesterday at the time of this recording. We did Aqua Teen Hunger Force : movie film for theaters with Jason Stein from Dads from the Crypt, and that was a great time. And very soon, we should have out our season finale on Cloak and Dagger, as well as our belated anniversary special on the Collateral Cinema side, talking, or our Miike-versary, I should say, talking about Takashi Miike's Happiness of the Katakuris, which is a very trip of a film, to say the least. But it's been a great 5 years of doing this, doing Collateral Gaming here from start to finish, starting from our very first episode on Fable 3. If I were to go back and listen to that episode now, not only would I cringe, but I'd probably disagree with myself quite a bit.
I feel like you'd also be kind of angry with just one of the people on the podcast.
Yes.
Or even just being there and existing. So, key.
Yeah, exactly. So, but nonetheless, it has been an incredible ride, and we've got many more years to come so far. I mean, obviously, we've got to make it another 5 years so we can come back to the Fable franchise. That is the plan.
Yes.
For our 100th episode, I know we're going to do a redux on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom as a 2-part episode. So it'll be an excuse to jump back into those games.
Since I didn't get to for either of them.
Yeah. So that'll actually be pretty cool. There's a lot of games that I'd love to do a redux on in the future. And yeah. So stay tuned for more content. We'll be getting into our Season 7 content very soon and planning that out. Check us out on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And yeah, I think that's just about it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, stay safe, everybody. We'll see you around very soon. And fuck Dakota Chancellor. Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.